Today we're joined by Eliezer Sherman, who's a Jerusalem Post correspondent that has just returned from Cairo to tell us about his impressions there on the ground. Thank you very much for being with us, Eli.
For sure.
Can you tell us a bit about what the atmosphere was there? Was there a sense of hope? Was there the feeling that democracy would prevail?
I think from being there, there was a pretty wide sense that democracy already had prevailed, but that it was in its very early stages. And with that comes a lot of difficulties, came a lot of tensions, and people weren't necessarily able yet to understand exactly what the new freedoms that they had achieved meant and how to basically use them or utilize them. So I think that made for some both tensions on the ground and also a sense of excitement, but I'm not sure I would call it hopefulness or hope yet at this point.
And did the tensions there ever evolve into clashes?
You know, there's a lack of security there right now. There's a lack of a police presence. There's sort of a feeling of lawlessness. And people will talk about it openly in a way that they didn't years ago. So again, that's part of having the freedom to say this system isn't working right now, but also they acknowledge that there's an issue, and there's a very big issue with kind of the whole security apparatus having basically disappeared.
How did you present yourself and how were you treated by others?
First few days, the paranoia is there, and that's when you don't want to let too much of yourself, you feel like you need to be hiding certain parts of yourself while you're there. And I guess it was sad because there were people that I tried to contact from when I lived there 4 years ago who basically wouldn't get in touch with me because I had moved to Israel since. And it was the first time I'd felt sort of like a personal boycott against myself. And I think that was a learning experience in and of itself. I think for a lot of Jews when they go to Egypt, it's kind of an issue where you go and how you want to present yourself and to who and when. So sometimes I was a writer, sometimes I was a journalist. Very rarely was I from Israel.
From what you saw, who do you think is the more mobilized party?
It's really different depending on where you go. But in Cairo at least, it was definitely the camp around Hamdin Sabahi, who is the leftist Nasserist candidate. I mean, you could tell because his poster was everywhere. There were young people, kids on the street handing out flyers for him. He won the most votes in Cairo. His campaign was really strong because he appeals to the younger, more liberal, some might say, the artists, the people on the street who really wanted to overthrow the previous government, and his foothold was very strong in Cairo. There's a lot to be said about the fact that Cairo and Alexandria are somewhat of a bubble. I mean, even if you go to the outskirts of Cairo, within 20 minutes of downtown, you can be in an area that feels like you're in a small village. And the Muslim Brothers have a lot more power in an area where for years they were an underground group and they maybe were able to mobilize socially more than politically. And today I think they're really benefiting from that, especially outside of the big cities.
Thank you very much for being with us, Eli.